Just because we played the game before does not mean we're gonna know what happens. This episode of The Last of Us is probably the most different changes that they've ever made to the show. When you read the notes made by Frank, it seems like Bill's the only one that actually loves the other person in this relationship. In the show, it's clear that they both love each other until the very end. I really did not think they could get more emotional than the first episode, but I was completely wrong. Some of the best acting in this episode so far. If you liked this episode, make sure to tell me in the comment section below. Hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video, and of course sub if you're new. Alright, let's get into it. The episode starts with Joel and Ellie in the woods. Both silent for the most part, but after a while, Ellie says that she needs to talk to him about something.
Nobody made you or Tess take me. You needed a truck battery or whatever, and you made a choice. Don't blame me for something that isn't my fault.
Joel seems to understand this, and it also seems like he kind of feels bad. I don't know if maybe Joel was giving her a hard time or something, but it's clear that Ellie didn't want to feel solely responsible for something like that. They then continue moving forward. Ellie asks Joel how long are they going to take to get there. Joel says it's about a 5-hour hike.
Shoot back?
Yeah.
You get him?
No, I missed two. It happens more often than you think.
Because you suck at shooting, or like in general?
After a while of hiking, they find the remains of dead people. It seems like they were some kind of family or maybe some kind of group. Joel tells her about the time that when soldiers went through the countryside and evacuated small towns. They had enough room, they would take you to a QZ. If they didn't have enough room, they would shoot you on the spot and kill you. Ellie asks him why even kill them. He responds saying that dead people can't be infected. We then transition to September 30th, 2003, a few days after the outbreak. We see the military outside doing what it seems like Joel was talking about. We then see Bill in some kind of bunker watching them from the camera. He hears footsteps upstairs and gets ready to defend himself.
Not today, you New World Order jackboot fucks.
He opens some kind of secret trap door and gets out of the basement. He secures the entire area and doesn't see anybody. We then see Bill gather supplies in like a montage form. It looks like he's living pretty comfortable despite being in a zombie apocalypse. We even see the traps that he set up from the game. Even though the portion of the game is completely different from this, I'm really glad that they were able to bring back callbacks. 4 years later, and we can see that Bill is still living life great. He has the whole town basically to himself and has a whole gate for it. When he's in the middle of working on something, he hears the alarm go off. He can see that one of his traps worked. When he gets close, we can hear Frank yell out that he's not infected. Frank claims that he hasn't been bit at all and that he's completely safe. Bill, of course, being the person he is, he's paranoid, so he's gonna go get the scanner and check it. Bill somehow has the scanner, and even Frank calls him out on this, saying, "How did you get that?" After scanning him, it's confirmed that Frank is not infected. Bill continues to point the gun at him and tells him where Boston is. Frank says he hasn't eaten in 2 days and that he's starving. At first, Bill doesn't want to do this because he feels like everyone is gonna start coming towards him for food.
If I feed you, every bum you talk to about it is gonna show up here looking for a free lunch. And this is not an Arby's.
Arby's didn't have free lunch, it was a restaurant.
Frank promises to not tell anybody about the dinner. Bill then slowly agrees to take him in. He lets him take a shower and even gives him clothes to wear. When Bill walks in with the plate, you kind of feel some weird energy around them. I'm not really sure if it's just sexual energy and they just seem attracted to each other, or maybe it's just because Bill doesn't trust anybody. It could really be either or at this point. Frank absolutely loves the food. Bill says anything tastes good when it's hungry, so you can see that Bill is more of a glass half empty type of guy. When Frank's about to leave, he sees that there's a piano inside and tries to guess which is Bill's favorite book. Frank then plays his favorite song from the book. Bill stops him midway and even starts playing himself.
Love will abide. Take things in stride.
So, who's the girl?
There is no girl.
I know.
They kiss and end up having sex together. This is the origin story on how they both became a couple. We then see it's 3 years in the future. The scene starts off with an argument about Frank wanting to spice up the area around them and Bill saying that it's wasting resources. He ends up compromising and letting Frank do what he wants. Frank brings up the fact that he wants friends around. Bill is opposed to this because he's a very paranoid person, but Frank reveals that he's already been talking to a lady on the radio. We find out that the person on the radio was actually Tess. I find this very interesting that they kept this Frank very consistent with how he is in the game. In the game, he writes a letter to Bill saying that he wanted more from life than this. He doesn't want to constantly have no friends. He doesn't want to constantly just stay by Bill all the time. In the game, they made Frank very mean-spirited, and I'm happy that they changed him to this. It also seems like they changed Bill a bit, which makes him more of a soft guy. He's able to listen more. He's able to actually communicate with him. He's actually able to compromise. Anyways, Bill and Frank are at dinner with Joel and Tess. Tess thanks them for the amazing meal that they're having and the fact that they're able to even just have a meal sitting down in an apocalypse like this. Bill constantly has his gun loaded and showing just in case they try anything. Joel says that he understands that he doesn't take any offense to it.
Can you not, please?
I'm the same way.
Oh, you're a paranoid schizophrenic too?
I'm not schizophrenic.
Tess and Frank go inside, and Bill and Joel have a conversation together. Joel makes a proposition that they can help each other get supplies. Joel and Tess have certain things in the QZ that Bill and Frank don't have out here. 3 years later, Bill and Frank are walking around their town. Frank blindfolds Bill and surprises him with strawberries. He actually traded Joel and Tess for these strawberries. So it's nice to see that they actually did end up working together. This is a really, really wholesome moment, and to me, this signifies hope in humanity even after the apocalypse. It's night, and we see a bunch of raiders trying to beat the traps that Bill set up. This wakes Frank up. Of course, Bill was already up ready for this. Bill gets shot by a raider, and Frank tries to take care of him. Bill tells him to call Joel and that Frank will be taken care of by Joel. Bill isn't even thinking about his own life. Bill is just thinking about the outcome of him dying and leaving Frank alone. It's really sweet that he feels like he has to take care of him. It looks like Bill is losing consciousness, but the screen turns black. We then transition to 10 years in the future. Bill did survive, but Frank is in a wheelchair. It seems like Frank's not really able to do anything at all. He's only able to sip through straws. He only eats soup. He can't even open the bag of pills that he has to take. Every time Bill has to help him with anything, you can tell that he's not happy at all and he just feels useless. One day in the morning, Frank surprises him with something.
Back in
I
bed.
promise you I'm gonna stay up.
Why?
Because this is my last day.
What if someone shows up who can help?
There wasn't anything to cure this before the world fell apart. Bill.
Bill's obviously hurt and sad, but it's clear that Frank wants to give up. Frank asks Bill for one more good day. He wants to get married and after have his final meal. He asks Bill to put a bunch of pills in his wine so that he can sleep in his arms. Bill at first doesn't want to do this because it's gonna obviously hurt. He eventually agrees to it. After they get married, they finally have their big final meal. Once they bring the wine out, he puts the pills inside of the wine and mixes it all up. Bill then reveals that he actually already had pills inside the drink. It's enough to kill a horse, which will definitely kill him. Frank is upset by this, but realizes that it's incredibly romantic. They both go up and die together. We then transition over to Joel and Ellie. Reached where Bill is at, but obviously it's too late. Joel's able to enter because Bill gave him the code to the gate. When exploring the inside of the house, they find a letter. The letter says,
I'm guessing you found this, Joel, because anyone else would have been electrocuted or blown up by one of my traps. Take anything you need. I never liked you. It's like we're friends. Almost. So I'm gonna tell you something because you're probably the only person who'll understand. I used to hate the world and I was happy when everyone died. But I was wrong because there was one person worth saving. That's why men like you and me are here. I leave you all of my weapons and equipment. Use them to keep
he feels like he failed to protect someone once again. His daughter and Tess were probably one of the only people that actually mattered to him. I honestly really, really love what they did here with Bill and Frank. Turned their love story into a way to talk about Joel and Ellie's relationship. Obviously, it's not going to be a love story. That would be really creepy, but in the sense that at first, Joel was really hard on Ellie. The same way Bill was really hard on Frank. Bill eventually came around, and I feel like Joel's going to eventually come around. This also sets up the hospital scene amazingly because Bill is telling Joel to protect someone that he loves. If you're confused on why this episode even needed to happen, Bill actually did leave Joel a car to take. It didn't have a battery in it, but Joel was able to create a battery, and we were able to skip basically the entire school scene. So I really do wonder if there's even going to be bloaters in this. I don't know if maybe they're going to introduce them in some other way, but it's just something that I do want to take note of. Joel goes and tells Ellie about the battery that he made. Ellie tries to talk about Tess, but Joel says that he has some rules that she needs to follow if she's going to come with him.
Rule 1, you don't bring up Tess, ever. You don't tell anyone about your condition. Rule 3, you do what I say when I say it.
They start looting everything that they can, and then they start heading out. They start looting everything that they can, and then they head out to Michigan. But then they head out. They get everything that they can, and then they head out to Wyoming. The episode ends, and like I said, definitely an amazing episode of television. Would have loved the school scenes, but honestly, I'm okay with what we got. It was great. This show has been just a complete emotional roller coaster. You get something wholesome, and then you get something terribly sad. I love it so far. I can't wait till the next episode. I cannot wait for that arc in the game where they're in the sewer. It's going to be amazing. Enjoy this video. Make sure to hit that like button. If you like the episode, let me know down below. And of course, hit that sub button if you're new. SA out. Peace.
I'm guessing you found this, Joel, because anyone else would have been electrocuted or blown up by one of my traps.